Okay, so today we're going to take a deep dive into something called vibe coding. Have you heard about this?
Yeah, I've seen it around. It's pretty wild stuff.
So it's basically like this crazy new way to make software, but you don't need to know how to code or anything like that.
You just tell the AI what you want it to do, and it like figures out all the technical stuff for you.
Exactly. It's kind of like having a genie in a bottle, but instead of like wishing for $1,000,000, you're wishing for like a custom app or something.
I like that analogy, the genie in the bottle for software.
Yeah, so we've got a bunch of articles and some research papers on vibe coding, and I'm really interested to kind of unpack this with you and see like what's the reality here? Is this just hype, or is this really the future of how we're going to be building stuff?
Yeah, it's definitely got a lot of buzz around it, but I think there's some real substance to it too. It's not just hype.
Okay, so let's break it down. Like how does vibe coding actually work?
So at the heart of it are these things called LLMs, large language models.
All right, those are all over the news these days. Everybody's talking about LLMs.
Yeah, and for good reason. They're pretty amazing. So basically, these LLMs have been trained on like massive amounts of text and code, like think an insane amount of data.
So they basically read the entire internet, right?
Pretty much, yeah. And because of that, they've developed this like uncanny ability to understand human language, like really understand it.
Okay, so how does that translate to actually creating software?
Well, that's where vibe coding comes in. So instead of writing out lines of code like you would traditionally, you just like talk to the AI like you're explaining it to a person.
Just like in plain English.
Yeah, exactly. And the LLM can take those instructions and translate them into the actual code that makes the software work.
Wow, that's wild. I read about this example where someone just told the AI, make this page look cooler. And it actually like redesigned the web page.
Yeah, that's a good example. It's like it can understand those high level concepts, like what makes something cool from a design perspective.
It can tap into those vibes.
Yeah, exactly. And it can apply that to the code and actually make those changes happen.
So it's not just like spitting out generic templates or something. It's actually understanding the intent behind what you're asking for.
Right. It's like it's getting at the essence of your vision and then figuring out the technical steps to make it a reality.
It's almost like having a design partner who can speak fluent code.
Right. Or like an incredibly fast and obedient intern.
That's a good one. And it's not just limited to like visual stuff, right?
Yeah.
I saw another example where someone asked for a button that like sparkles when you hover over it.
Oh, yeah, I saw that one too. It's pretty funny. Like it can even handle those little whimsical details.
Yeah, it's like vibe coding has a sense of humor.
I think that's part of what makes it so appealing to people. It doesn't feel so intimidating like traditional coding can be.
It's more approachable. It's more human.
Exactly. And I think that's really important because it opens up the world of software development to a much wider range of people.
Yeah, it's no longer just this exclusive club for tech wizards.
Right. Anyone with an idea can potentially bring it to life.
That's exciting. But okay, let's play devil's advocate here for a second.
Sure.
So let's say I have this amazing idea for a taco tracking app. Something that can help me find the best tacos in my city.
Sounds delicious.
All right, so I tell the vibe coding AI, build me a taco tracking app, and boom, I'm done.
Well, not so fast. It's not quite that simple. It's definitely a lot easier than traditional coding, but still a process.
Okay, so what else is involved?
So first of all, you need to be as specific as possible with your instructions. The more detail you give the AI, the better it can understand what you want.
So like I need to tell it what kind of data it needs to collect, user ratings, location info, all that stuff.
Exactly. And you might need to give it some examples, like show it some existing taco apps and say, I want something like this, but with these features.
Right. Okay. So it's still a collaboration. It's not just like a magic wand.
Right. And then once the AI has generated the initial code, you still need to test it out, make sure it's working properly.
Right. There's going to be bugs.
There will definitely be bugs, and you'll need to give the AI feedback, tell it what needs to be fixed or improved.
So it's like an iterative process, kind of like the traditional software development,
Yeah.
but just sped up and simplified.
Yeah, exactly. It takes care of a lot of the tedious grunt work, but you're still the one steering the ship.
That makes sense. So it's a powerful tool, but it's still a tool.
Right. And like any tool, it's important to use it responsibly and thoughtfully.
So if we zoom out a little bit and think about the big picture, What are some of the potential implications of vibe coding like for society as a whole?
Well, I think one of the most exciting things is that it could really democratize software development, you know?
Make it accessible to everyone.
Exactly. Like right now, there's this huge barrier to entry. If you want to build software, you need to learn how to code, which can take years of study and practice.
But with vibe coding, that barrier could be significantly lowered.
Right. And that means that anyone with a good idea could potentially create something amazing, regardless of their technical background.
So we could see this explosion of creativity and innovation coming from all different corners of society.
Exactly. And that's something I'm really excited about. The possibility of empowering people to bring their ideas to life.
It's a bit scary too, right? Like, what happens when anyone can create software?
Yeah, there are definitely some challenges and potential risks that we need to consider. Things like security and ethical implications.
We don't want people accidentally creating harmful software because they didn't fully understand the consequences.
Right. And there's the question of intellectual property. Who owns the code that the AI generates?
So there are a lot of big questions that still need to be answered, but it's clear that vibe coding has the potential to be a game changer.
Absolutely. It's a technology that we need to be paying attention to and having conversations about.
So for our listeners out there, if you're curious about vibe coding, I encourage you to go do some research and check it out. It's a fascinating world. And who knows, maybe you'll be the next person to create something incredible with it.
And I think the biggest question that everyone's asking themselves now is, if anyone can create software, what does that mean for the future of creativity and innovation in the world?
That's something to ponder. Thanks for joining me for this deep dive into vibe coding. It's been a really thought-provoking conversation.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you all next time.